Here we are again. Another month, another SML character analysis video. I hypothesize that we have 2 more videos after this and that will be the end of it. I can't believe we're almost getting to the end. Last month we spoke about how Joseph, his friend from school, went from one of the more decent characters who used to have a tragic backstory, to a character who over time had no literal purpose on the show, to a racist stereotype of just the black character. And that's it. But now we are going to talk about the main character, and I will say that out of all the characters I spoke about so far, next to Cody, Mario is the best of them. He has remained a bit more consistent compared to all the other characters. I will say he is the most decent out of all the bunch, but even still his character is a bit hard to describe, but I'm sure I could figure out what happened to his character. So let's discuss how Mario went from the main character of the channel, you know, Super Mario Logan, to just the most generic character. How he went from generic in a good way to generic in kind of a bad way. And yeah, I guess one can blame Nintendo for why his character changed so drastically, but even still, I'm sure there was something to do with his character at least, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Mario is actually the longest standing SML character in the show. He made his first appearance all the way back in 2007, which is when SML started making videos. Though I am gonna skip ahead to around 2011 because the videos back then are a bit outdated to talk about, and admittedly he didn't have that much of a story with his characters. Mario from way back then was just strictly Mario from the games, and not much of a personality on his own yet. Back when the show only had characters like Shrek, Woody, Black Yoshi, Sheppy B, Bowser, and later on Junior, Mario was undoubtedly the main character. Unless there was a Junior episode. But Mario was the straw man of the cast, and he always knew when to do the right thing. Mario was a generic character, but in a good way. He was the protagonist who always knew what was right. There is a slight difference when you watch Mario in the old house era compared to the apartment or current house era. He was never really a selfish character and always knew when to do the right thing. And him being the most serious and stern character, he bounced off all the other characters who were lesser smart than him. And their dynamics are unique and hilarious. All his relationships with all the other characters were unique, especially since all the characters back then were so different from each other. Shrek loves cheesecake. Black Yoshi occasionally just mooches off him and asks Mario for money. Mario having to deal with Brooklyn guy not doing his job sometimes. Woody just collects shrimp. All the other characters were weird, and that was what made the old house era stand out from the rest of the show. All the characters were weird, and they were all like a giant family. He was also very selfless and would help out his weird family. He would help Black Yoshi stay out of trouble and Black Yoshi's in trouble. He would occasionally team up with Bowser a few times, and speaking of Bowser, I really miss their rivalry and their love-hate relationship. Mario was the brains of the group, while Bowser was the muscles who was just an idiot who did whatever he wanted. They did have a few videos like this in the apartment era, but their relationship was always the highlight. And he used to have a relationship with Peach, who was, basically. She left Mario for Sonic people, and for the people saying that Peach and Mario would have been perfect, no. Peach wasn't much better. She literally only liked Mario when he had a wig on. If a woman can't love you for your bald ass hair, she ain't for you, my guy. While I wasn't a fan of the episodes where Mario was crying for Peach back and just simping over her, he was still a great character. Plain and simple. Mario being the smartest character made us relate to him with dealing with the insanity of the other characters. I don't think Mario ever really had a bad appearance in the old house as far as I know, as he was a good character all around. Though it is kinda sad that as soon as Junior came into the show, Mario's appearance was heavily weighed down, and Junior became the main character of the show. So let's just skip to the apartment era where something certainly did make him change. During the apartment era, while Mario had less focus, mostly due to Junior and Jeffy occupying the era basically, for a while everything was still the same with Mario. They would have episodes centered around Shrek or Black Yoshi and Mario being a supportive friend to them, like the time he helped Shrek go on a diet to not eat cheesecake, or the time he helped Black Yoshi pay off his debt by robbing a store. Hey, gotta make money somehow. Though the biggest thing that happened before Jeffy came into the show, Rosalina was introduced, and despite her rocky start of annoyance, Rosalina and Mario was actually a very cute couple dynamic. where after Rosalina's post-star clarity, she was finally a good character and a loving girlfriend for Mario. Rosalina being a dipsy but faithful girlfriend, while Mario was a character doing his best to make her happy. Hell, both of them led to my 2 favorite SML videos of all time, and the most sweetest episodes to date. The Valentine's Day episode is where Mario finally sinks in that Peach was a horrible girlfriend who never appreciated anything he did, and with him coming to terms that how much he loves Rosalina. While Rosalina's ex-boyfriend had Mario stupidly yet sweetly fighting Rose's ex-boyfriend to prove she loves her, and Rosalina not wanting him to hurt himself. Man, I miss this dynamic so much where it makes me awe instead of groan every time Rose never takes Mario's side. And speaking of taking Mario's side, Jeffy appeared. So you might be surprised for me to say that even after Jeffy appeared, Mario was still a rather sympathetic character. So he did go through a small character change. Sure, his hatred for Jeffy was justified considering Jeffy's character was different too. Kinda? This Jeffy analysis video is gonna be a pain to research and study. Jeffy was the character back then who was stupid, but he also knew what he was doing. At least that's what the show implied, considering he would only act up when Mario's around, but in front of any other person he would just act normal. Or not normal? You know what I mean. Ever since Jeffy came into the show, Mario did become a bit more antagonistic and agitated with even the smallest things, and it does play into his current character Marvin later on, but sometimes Mario rightfully would snap at Jeffy for being annoying, but then other episodes will villainize and going a bit too far, like him bringing a hitman to kill Jeffy, or him leaving Jeffy at the park on purpose so he can be free. And in terms of the show, this is where Mario became the tortured character. Before we had Cody torture, we had a lot of Mario torture, and his character for some reason was given the worst endings. And Jeffy's bad word, he was hated by the entire world for just spanking Jeffy, and Black Yoshi's blank check, he was framed by Black Yoshi for trying to be a good friend to him, and locked out, he was arrested for trying to get inside his own house. And people really got sick of this trope because Mario was an innocent victim. If I could put on my tinfoil hat for a second, I think realistically Logan wrote these endings because the Jeffy fans did not like Mario at all, and they hated when Jeffy was tortured even if he rightfully deserved it. So I think instead they had Mario get in trouble to please those fans. Or if it's supposed to be ironic humor, it's not really done the best because they don't even try to make Mario a villain to deserve the treatment he gets. Anyway, on the note of Jeffy coming into the show, this is where I will say Mario became a lot less of a main character, because now we got Junior and Jeffy, and for a show called Super Mario Logan formerly, Mario really didn't appear as often as you think, or when he did, it was always in a Jeffy-centered video, and he sometimes didn't play that much of a role. Nevertheless, Mario was still one of the more well-liked characters, and dare I say, he went through some character development, especially in Jeffy's parents. It was a very sweet ending for Mario, the man who internally hated Jeffy, finally accepting Jeffy into his life and escaping Nancy's abuse. It was a real shame how in the literal next few videos, sympathizing for Jeffy didn't really mean that much and it kinda ruined the end pack. But how terribly sad that potential for Mario to be an actual father was thrown out the window. From having an actual father-son relationship to a rather toxic and confusing one, but we'll talk about that later. But for now, let's talk about pre-Puppet era Mario. It was around the following years or so when Mario did slowly become less of a main character in the show, which is weird for a channel called SML, you know, to the point that he stopped having episodes centering around him. Likewise with how Joseph stopped having episodes centered around him, they did the same thing with Mario. This was where Jeffy and Junior ran the channel, and when the video centered around Jeffy, Mario was more like second fiddle or a background character. In episodes that have either Jeffy, Black Yoshi, or even Mr. Goodman in it, Mario was rarely the main character. He was more like a secondary character. Mario slowly over time began to drift far from his older counterpart of being the smart character. While it's not nearly as bad as his later years, I will say he gradually turned into more of the idiot main character. Remember in Jeffy's Lunch Money, he was so stupid to not recognize Black Yoshi dressed up as Jeffy. In Jeffy's Summer School, he was dumb to not see drawing Jeffy. And Jeffy skipped school, he couldn't see his own grandfather was Jeffy. So in that episode's defense, at least the show was aware of how dumb Mario was in that episode. But this was also where Mario for a while was a bit unlikable. He had some episodes that truly displayed how Mario can be the worst person sometimes. Like in Jeffy Sneaks Out, Mario was so oblivious to the fact Giant Jeffy was not the real Jeffy, and he even punished Jeffy for no reason. Yeah, it's Mario's character to be mad at Jeffy, but even then, he was a lot more ruder than usual, with Mario grounding Jeffy for no reason. That kinda became his only character, with him getting easily agitated and yelling a lot. Sure, for other characters like Black Yoshi, it's understandable, but even then, all he does is yell a lot, and it does kinda carry over to the Marvin counterpart later on. Oh, on the note of 2017, this is where Mario's one and only other subplot comes into play. If a video wasn't gonna have Jeffy antagonize him, his conflicts always involve not paying his house payment. I went into detail about this plot becoming repetitive in the Goodman video, so yeah. That plot is such a crutch by Logan, and he still does it to this day. Though I will admit over the years some episodes did this creatively. My all-time favorite episode, The Bet, did this cliche right. But for the most part, so many plots have Mario unable to pay his house payment, and that is his only plot they stick to. Some episodes center around Mario and Jeffy and Rose, and don't get me started on how these two brain-dead idiots annoy Mario. I'ma be honest, if I had a child and a wife like Rose, you know what, SML theory, I think Mario is hallucinating and imagining all of this stuff happening. Wouldn't that be a crazy SML finale? It'll be a Silent Hill bad ending. I'm just surprised Mario hasn't been locked up in Gotham Asylum by now. I'm telling you, both of them would disappear by some unfortunate and bloody circumstances. Episodes would treat Mario in the wrong for parenting Jeffy, with Rosalina usually scolding him. I can only assume again because the Jeffy fanboys don't want their precious Jeffy to be harmed. With all of that being said though, honestly, I don't think Mario truly hasn't had that much of a massive downfall compared to the other characters. The change wasn't as obvious like Rosalina or Joseph, but he did begin to drift from his former smart and selfless character, turn into him being a lot more antagonistic and selfish. For example, in the Quiet Game, he makes a bet with Jeffy, and it turns out he was never going to give Jeffy the money, and he was trying to cheat the game. And Jeffy's punishment, he also tried to cheat his way into winning the game. And Jeffy and Junior Sneaks Out. Remember the dumb plot twist that Mario was the one who broke the trophy and framed Junior for it, which was never foreshadowed or hinted at? It was just a way for Junior to not get in trouble. And the worst Mario can turn out to be is when he does stuff for greed and money. We had episodes like Rich Mario and Mario Sells Jeffy, where coincidentally both episodes have Mario doing something selfish for money. In the former, he sells one of Goodman's gold bars, and he was an annoying rich douche. And in the latter, he sold Jeffy when Jeffy wasn't really doing anything. Scooter's Parents is one of Mario's worst episodes by far, with him lying to Camille by dressing Scooter up as his daughter for the award money while he slammed the door in his real daughter's face. Oh, and the green beans joke, I should probably mention that, with him knowingly feeding Jeffy the food he hates. I will say Mario does have it coming, with not at least feeding him something else. And lastly, though when Mario is sympathetic, he's usually antagonized by literally everyone. Where Jeffy would troll Mario, sometimes it's funny, other times it's a bit annoying. And he does it to be an asshole. And don't get me started on Rosalina. But by far, the worst part about Mario's character is how he has no backbone nowadays. Remember how Mario used to stand up for himself? Now, he lets Rosalina and Jeffy mop the floor with him. He is so submissive. One moment he tells Jeffy no, Jeffy bothers him a little bit, Mario gives in. Or Rosalina would tell him to do something and he gives in. It's probably my biggest gripe with his character, and it really continues into Marvin's character. Why is he always foiled by Rose? And it's just her being a bitch and jumping to conclusions and believing her own thoughts. Ugh. But after all of that being said, Mario still remained a rather good character. Honestly, I am surprised with the decent track record Mario has, even with a slight downfall his character have. But then Mario turned into Marvin, and while Marvin is still a good character, I will say Marvin definitely ruined all of Mario's character development. Well, I assume you guys already know about Nintendo and the cease and desist, so I won't mention it. But even before the plush change, or even before the Nintendo thing, Logan changed the plush characters into human counterparts. And the show tried to convince us how despite their change they were still the same characters. It was clear to see they weren't. To briefly summarize, Cody was the least changed character, with him just being slightly more raunchy, but that's it. Junior was a lot more antagonistic and selfish. Joseph turned into a Black Lives Matter activist. Rosalina was already a horrible character before the switch. She just got a lot worse. And finally Marvin. Marvin was still the same generic character, but I will say his character, or at least some of it, was ruined here. Remember in Jeffy's Parents where he admits in his own way that he loved Jeffy and he wanted to take care of him? Well, over the years, he started to love Jeffy only for the money and always pray for the day he turned 18 just so he can take his money. And in Jeffy's 18th birthday, his character was botched. Horribly. We could have had Mario had a father-son bond with Jeffy, or him throwing a party because he loved Jeffy, but no. It had to be about the money. Every time in the show, his motive of keeping Jeffy was always about the money. While it makes sense, I kinda wish it wasn't about money at all and that Mario truly loved Jeffy and he tried to teach Jeffy better, or I wish Logan would have wrote them as a functioning father and son bond, because the way I see it now, they're kinda terrible for each other. In the movie, when he didn't get the money, he wanted nothing to do with Jeffy, and then Jeffy gets kidnapped, then suddenly he has a complete 180 and a change of heart. Throughout the movie, we didn't see one glimpse of Mario having any sympathy for Jeffy. Hell, he even wanted to kick Jeffy out the house because he wasn't getting paid. For him to have a change of heart and pull the twist again of loving him, the ending of Mario loving Jeffy, it does not have the same impact as Jeffy's Parents, because as much as the current characters ruined Jeffy's Parents for me, at least on its own, it's the best and most serious SML video you'll ever watch. And it's satisfying to see Mario finally admits he loved Jeffy. But here, he only loves Jeffy because it's just a status quo ending. And of course Mario admits Jeffy can stay because everything has to go back to the reset button every single time. So Jeffy's 18th birthday kinda ruined the impact of Mario's character loving Jeffy now. Not because he had an abusive mom, but because of him not getting money. And this leads to my biggest question. Why in universe does Marvin keep Jeffy around? Okay, I know why Jeffy will never get rid of, but in terms of the show, why does Marvin keep Jeffy around? I can't even argue it's because he secretly loved Jeffy, because the show makes it clear he hates Jeffy. The same way he always hated Jeffy, even before he knew about the inheritance. He always hated Jeffy. Jeffy does nothing but makes his life hell, and Rosalina is not helping things along, so I have no idea why he keeps him around. Anyway, Mario is kinda generic now in the worst way. Sure, I still stand by the fact Marvin is the least changed character and I still pick him as the better one, but Marvin does have some character flaws that carried over from Mario. He still has the tendency to not pay the house payment, and this makes even less sense than Mario. And because this is supposed to be another universe as the fans call it, why is Goodman asking this ordinary guy for his house payment? You know what, my brain hurts, back on topic. Marvin also gets mad at the smallest things and all he does is whine and complain about everything. Sure, Jeffy is annoying. It's never an off day for Marvin to be grumpy. Marvin is a lot more antagonistic and it's not in an understandable or likable way either. At least in Jeffy's piggy bank you understood why he stole Jeffy's money, but can somebody explain to me why does he feel the need to keep Jeffy awake and getting mad at Jeffy for getting him in trouble when Marvin did it to himself? Yeah, Jeffy fell asleep at the beginning and it's his fault, but towards the part Mario wanted Jeffy to clean the house and cook for him while he's tired, I can't defend Marvin anymore. Or why does he feel the need to kill Rose's ex-boyfriend? Just because he's her ex and because he saved your son's life from drowning? Or why does he feel the need to team up with Goodman's clone to kill Goodman? Like I said before, Mario's worst appearance is when he is greedy and wants money, or when Marvin is just plain stupid. And side note, but Marvin complains Goodman hates him, while he literally doesn't have a job whatsoever. I don't blame Goodman for getting mad at Marvin. But thankfully, the times where Marvin is the worst character is pretty rare. And he's more sympathetic if anything. You feel so bad for him, having to deal with Rose and Jeffy. Similar to Mario, it seems like everything is out to get him, whether it's Goodman, the two brain-dead idiots over there, even Brooklyn Guy. You got episodes like Jeffy says the B word or Jeffy the sketch artist where he gets tortured for no reason and no fault of his own. And Brooklyn Guy makes it not much better. Marvin is not even the main character anymore. And again, I have to say, for a channel formerly called Super Mario Logan, it's kinda weird. Or Super Marvin Logan? Super Money Lover? What does SML even stand for anymore? It's weird that as soon as Jeffy came into the show, Mario was no longer the main character of SML. Overall, Marvin is still a decent character, although I do wish the show gave him more focus, and they would at least make him more interesting. I mean, look on the bright side of the cease and desist. Marvin is his own character now, so it wouldn't hurt to make Marvin into a more decent and interesting character than just him being Bob, who looks depressed and goes to work every single day. So I think it's the first time that we're ending off the character analysis video on a rather positive note. I like Marvin, and I think Marvin has potential. So Logan, just make him more decent, have more of a personality, and he could be better. And one more note, Marvin. Pay your goddamn bill!